I am Intisar Faulkner.
And I'm Billie Jean Shaw, and we are so happy to have you here with us today as we tell you all the ins and outs into how Before Bondage was birthed.
Let me just say, Billie Jean, 3 years of the Black History Month special. It has been a pleasure to work with you again, my sister, my friend, because this was one of the projects, I think, out of the 3 that truly was not only just challenging, but it was one of the most eye-opening, I think, that we have done thus far.
Yes, first of all, kudos to us.
Yes,
we did that in our amazing team. We had a lot of people working behind the scenes to bring this project to light, and we are so thankful for all the hard work from each and every person that you guys did not see behind the scenes, including all of the interviewees as well, them giving their time to us, lending their time, the people that helped set those interviews up. It was so much that went into this project, and we can breathe now.
Yes.
It's over. It's over. Well, actually, I will argue that this is just the beginning, Intisar, because we've seen your feedback. We have not gotten a chance to go through all of it, but it's such an overwhelming feeling, one of joy, to see all of the great comments. People say they cried, they had a conversation, people, watched it together. We'll get into our watch party in just a few moments, but it feels good. We received the love. We definitely received the love, so thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate the love and support. We really worked hard on this, as Billie Jean said. It took a team effort, so many of us behind the scenes, long hours, and I think some of the most touching, I've gotten to kind of skim over a few, as you mentioned, it's been an overwhelming outpouring support and love, but seeing the conversation starters for a lot of families. I saw a lot of comments saying this was that, conversation starter for me and my loved ones, me and my children, to talk about the past. And I think that that is something that Billie Jean and I truly wanted for the households in our community, was for this to be an open conversation, an open dialogue, and some new knowledge.
Yeah, it was. And we also wanted to make sure that we were setting the narrative straight. That was so important to us. I mean, we're Black women. We've learned about Black history all of our lives, in and out of our homes. But there seems to always be, especially when it's amongst the public, just this misconception and this narrative that's not right about how our ancestors were, their character. They weren't savages, they weren't dumb, they weren't just ignorant and just, I'm gonna do what you told me to do, master. It wasn't that. They were intelligent, bright people that were people. Yes, during a certain time, Black people were looked at as property, but they were people. They had families, they had children, they raised families, had to give away their children, they were married. They went to church.
Yes.
They created songs that we're still singing today.
Absolutely. And they had aspirations and dreams.
Aspirations, dreams, inventions.
Yes.
Just intelligence, knowledge, power, and skill, as we heard Michael Allen repeatedly say in the special.
Michael Allen, he was kind of the opener for this project, right? He brought us in, he let us know from the beginning what Gullah Geechee means, where it derived from. And let me just say, Michael was such a gem to this project. He was so knowledgeable. And to hear it, someone also not only that was giving us this knowledge for the special, but when we learned about Michael himself and the hands and the part that he had in, Charleston and the history of the Gullah Geechee people that is now showcased there. I mean, he's been in the game for decades now, making those things that you now see, the International African American Museum, the Gullah Geechee Corridor. He was part of those first steps of making that into fruition.
And you're talking about a man that knows that God put him on this earth for this purpose. He is walking in his purpose. He enjoys it. Michael was available anytime we had a question, anytime we needed to go deeper to understand a part of a story or the history. I mean, he sat and broke that thing down like he was a teacher. And I would argue he is a teacher.
No, he is.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that we talked to Michael, let me just say this. We talked to Michael for about about a good 2 hours.
2 hours.
Actually, we need to find a way to post our raw interviews so you guys can see it. We have to do some editing to them, but he gave us so much information. But it's TV news, so you only have a limited amount of time when it comes to local news. But we picked out the best parts to really tell the story. And one of the things that you guys did not get to see, if you may have noticed in this special, Michael at one point was holding a basket, and this basket represented the Gullah Geechee culture, and the story that he gave us behind it was beautiful. So here's a bit of that.
Well, if you look at an old historic map or atlas of West Africa, you will see regions highlighted on the map as the Windward Coast, the Rice Coast, or the Gold Coast. Today, modern countries of Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Nigeria, and Sierra Leone and Ghana is in this same geographical area today. It was in the Senegal-Gambia region that enslaved Africans that mainly ended up here in the Low Country came from. In fact, this basket that I'm holding here today is a manifestation of the hands of women from 2 continents. The middle section that you see here was woven by women from Sierra Leone with a color pattern in their weaving. The top here and the base was woven by a woman from here in Mount Pleasant. And so here I have in my hand 4 centuries of history that has been woven together by women from 2 continents. That's a transfer of knowledge, skill, ability, and technology that women from both sides of the Atlantic could work together and weave my basket that I hold in my hand that represents Gullah culture, that represents life, that represents culture, and represents community.
Oh, I love that story.
Yeah.
And, you know, the basket in itself is something that is so beautiful. But I think what I really took from when Michael shared that story with us was that after we spoke with him, understanding everything that they tried to take away, strip away, make sure that you didn't have access to, different cultures still found a way to literally weave together and find those ways that either if it was in communication, if it was in resistance, whatever it may be, and seeing that those cultures were able to still combine once they got to the shores of America, I think was really beautiful. And I love that it was manifested in the basket.
Absolutely. And you had one part that was from a lady in Sierra Leone. Another one was from a woman in Mount Pleasant. And that just goes to show you that the history is still here. And that's what's beautiful about the Gullah Geechee culture, is that those moments are still present in everyday life. It could have been hundreds and hundreds of years ago that these things were instilled and brought here and shared and has now become a part of everyday life. But the origin of it was birthed out of knowledge but hurt at the same time. And I just think about what it would be like to push through those moments. And look at the beauty and the history we have with the baskets, with the food, with the language. And I think that was so impactful and eye-opening for us to go into the deep, dark detail of how this culture was built.
Very much so. And like you said, the origin. So even when we weren't allowed to speak our language, our native tongues, and of course separating us to where we couldn't communicate with one another. So you had the enslaved coming from different countries, different parts of life, and it was purposeful that they kind of combined them all together to where they couldn't communicate, they couldn't rebel. But still we found a way, once we made it to the shores, to communicate, create our own language and dialect that is still very much present today. Dr. Jessica Berry was able to school us on the Gullah Geechee language.
Yes, she was. It was so cool. So she actually talked about, which was a vulnerable moment, and we heard this from a lot of people we interviewed, how speaking the language, having that accent, and being able to, again, speak that second language, because it is an official language, sometimes they were shamed for that. They were mocked. They were told they weren't speaking properly and it was incorrect and it was wrong. But now that there's this big push to take the culture back, Dr. Jessica Berry is a part of that, and she shared this cute story about a conversation she had with one of her little cousins.
I speak the Gullah language. That's okay. I own the Gullah traditions, and that's okay. Because what that does for your confidence, what that does for what you end up doing professionally, could dramatically change for a child once they understand who they are at their core. So that's really important. And a quick story, a little girl, one of my cousins, she's like, I don't know, 4th grade, but in class they asked her, well, what language do you speak? And she raised her hand and she said, I speak Gullah. And the teacher was like, and she said, I learned that from my cousin because she said we Gullah Geechee down to the socks, right? I mean, and so how cool at a 3rd or 4th grade that she understands who she is. And yeah, she might code switch, but it's because she wants to. It's not because she's disowning who she is. So I do it for that reason. For the churn, because we call them churn. For the churn, to learn who they are. It's not because...
Wow, so we are appreciative of Dr. Berry's just frankness and just her character. She was smiling a lot, very happy and proud to talk about the culture. But I agree with her. How cool is that?
Absolutely.
To be proud at that young age and know that even as a child, or the churn, as Dr. Berry said, because that's what we call him in the Low Country, the churn, that this is who I am, this is my culture, and I'm bilingual, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah, and I'm cool with that. And I think what a moment for her, you know, as a family member, because she had also shared with us how she was shamed in school.
Yeah.
When she went to high school, it was a completely different dynamic. She was one of the few black students in her class, and it was very much like, this is how we're used to talking, and now all of a sudden I'm an outsider, and I'm being called out for, you know, my accent or what I'm speaking. So I'm sure for her to have a young family member come down and say like, oh no, I'm letting everybody know I am Gullah Geechee down to the socks. I am proud of it. I love that for her. And I love that the message that she's sharing, even with her Okra Soup Foundation, going through and just kind of looking back at the work that Dr. Jessica Berry is doing is so beautiful to be able to enrich the language, but also just the practices of the culture through the community. So shout out to her.
And inspiring others while doing it. I really love that. So Dr. Berry was phenomenal. Make sure you get a copy of her book, The Little Gullah Geechee Book.
Yes.
She said it's a guide for the come here. So if you are not a Binya, which means that you were born and raised, you're a native of the Charleston area, then you're a come here. And the come here, she has a guide for you to know what the do's and don'ts.
The do's and don'ts
of the culture.
Do's and don'ts. And very much knowing that the Gullah Geechee people aren't what you think. I love when she pointed that out too. Like, people think that because we are a native culture and heritage that we are still dressing like we're in the 1900s.
Yeah, but
and that we are hair is wrapped. I love when she pointed that out.
With our feet in the dirt.
No.
Like, she's like, no. She said we're regular black people.
We're regular black people.
I was like, oh my gosh, thank you for saying that, because she also talked about how people think that this culture is performative. Do your little dance. Say, how do you say so-and-so? Say it in your accent, you know? And it's just like, that's offensive.
Yeah, you wouldn't go to France and tell people to speak French and just do your little accent.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't go to Germany and say, oh, just, you know, speak German, do your little, so it's the same way.
Or you don't like when you're family from New York and you're in the South and you say something a certain way and they're like, say it again. Like, you get offended because, oh, you got a country accent. Right. You don't like that. Yes. So I thought that she did a really good job of making that relevant and letting people know, like, don't do that. That's actually offensive. We also had another good conversation with Corey Austin. A lot of people enjoyed the Sweetgrass Basket segment as well.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from it, we learned, of course, you know, Corey, he is a veteran sweetgrass basket maker. He's been doing this for decades. Passed it on through his family generation to generation. He has 2 beautiful daughters that are continuing that legacy. I was just so amused and taken aback by how he was, you know, like the whole Pat doing this at the same time. He's talking to us, giving us all these great, you know, gems for talking about the history of sweetgrass baskets, and he's just a-going. Not even looking. One time. I mean, the artistry, the craftsmanship that goes into that was very great to see in real time.
Yes, absolutely. And before we go to Corey, we just want to welcome everyone that is watching with us this afternoon. Thank you so much. We see that we have a growing audience here on our Facebook Live, and we want you to know that this is a conversation. So if you're just joining us for Before Bondage, our live Q&A, Intisar and I are happy to answer any of your questions. We're actually already getting a question from Tessa Richburg. And Tessa, I saw you comment this, and hopefully you're able to see this. Tessa is asking, what was the name of the young man that gave the history of the food? That was KJ Kearney.
KJ Kearney.
Yes, he was awesome. Tessa, thank you so much for asking. KJ is amazing. You can follow him on Facebook and Instagram. He also has that platform, Black Food Fridays. We're going to get to him in just a few moments, but we want you to know that if you're just coming into the live, please join the conversation. Anything you want to know about Before Bondage, we would love to hear from you. But right now we're going to hear from Corey Austin, who's talking about a big project that he's working on that will be on display come February 19th.
Getting something like that done, right about 11 hours in that piece right there. That's not harvesting, drying. That's just sitting down, weaving it, starting in the center of every piece. As I spoke about earlier, we start in the center and then we build around the center. About 11 hours. The most time-consuming piece, I've been blessed to be commissioned by the South Carolina State Museum. I'm under a 1-year commission, and that's going to be the biggest basket within the past 100 years. I have that finished and on display as of February 19th in Columbia, South Carolina. That'll live at the South Carolina State Museum. It's going to be bigger than most people have ever seen. That's going to be something to see. Yeah.
All right, Corey said it's going to be something that y'all have never seen before, that most people haven't seen, that big basket that he's making, the biggest in the state, or I think even maybe in the country.
It might be one of the biggest. You know, Corey had so many beautiful pieces on display. So if you are making those, trips to Charleston, I know the spring break is going to be coming up, planning for those family trips, make sure you stop by and see Corey purchase one of his beautiful baskets. But I mean, he's been doing this for decades, as we said, Billie Jean. He said he was working tirelessly. I mean, months and months and months on end. So it's going to be at the South Carolina State Museum. Make sure that you check it out. That's going to be at the end of this month, February 19th.
February 19th. Okay. That's going to be so cool. And one of the things that I loved about Corey's segment is how he spoke about this used to be something that men did, sweetgrass baskets. I think that when most people think about going to Charleston and seeing the basket weavers, they're women. And yes, women did eventually take over the skill at some point, but Corey taught us that this was something that the men did. It was mostly ran by men, so I thought that was very interesting. And to know that those baskets are woven so tight, they can hold water. They're woven so tight that they were used as tools to cultivate rice, which we learned. A lot of people think that the ancestors and the Africans, they only picked cotton. When people associate Africans with slavery, they were like, oh, they were in the cotton fields. But really the king of everything was rice in the Low Country.
Carolina gold was where it was at. And, as you mentioned, I mean, it takes a certain level of craftsmanship and artistry because not only were you, think about that, you're building the tool that you need to use to labor tirelessly.
Yeah.
That's a different mental type of understanding. Not only do you had to build the computer and work on it.
Right.
So it's like for them to have, as you said, that certain level of patience, of understanding in a way, mentally having to know that I am doing something that is a thing of beauty, is art in itself, but I'm using it to labor, and in that labor, I'm being mistreated.
Yeah, it's horrible, horrible. And to see those images and to learn that they had to manipulate the levees with their skill. Now you got to think about it, it's 2026. There are machines that can plow land and get rid of the water, add the water, all of those things that it needs in order to grow said crop. But they were doing that back then just based off of knowledge. And as Michael mentioned to us, the topography, they were like, okay, we're not home. This looks similar. So let's see how we're going to work this as if we were home. That's a different type of intelligence.
It is. It's a different type of intelligence.
Yeah.
Really great.
What were some moments that stuck out for you during the special?
I think I would be biased to say the whole special was it was so informative and it was great. But I will say that, hearing about the origins of some of the things that we as a country have very much understood, we have as part of some of our traditions. Billie Jean, we're celebrating 250 years of America this year. I know the whole country has been on standby for this big birthday that we're celebrating. But there are a lot of things that we might not know in our traditions as a country that were rooted from a slave ship, that were rooted from the enslaved. Anne Caldwell, she was a big part.
Oh, she was so sweet, Miss Anne.
Miss Anne.
Miss Anne from the Magnolia Singers.
Oh, loved Miss Anne. Yeah. And, all that she gave, the insight that she gave on the religion, the faith aspect, but also the songs, the spirituals. They had so much more meaning.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, she talked about, sometimes I feel like a motherless child, wade in the water. One of the cuts you may have not seen in the special, Swing Low Sweet Chariot.
Yes.
Coming for the Carry Me Home. I mean, think about all those songs that you grew up singing in church or on chorus. They all have meaning. But the one that I think may resonate with everyone the most, no matter what denomination, what culture you're in, is the song Amazing Grace. And I think I remember during our watch party, when she said this part, people gasped. They were like, what? Oh my gosh, what? And if you missed that, take a listen.
The song Amazing Grace. The melody was given credit to Unknown. And the only place he could have heard the melody for Amazing Grace was on a slave ship.
And grace,
when they were moaning and groaning. Amazing Grace was born as a result of the ancestors who came across on the Middle Passage. They were singing even then.
No, when you talk about unfiltered, unapologetic, that is Miss Ann Caldwell.
Yes.
I absolutely loved when it was really like that auntie moment for us, I feel, during this project, where she was very much so, how matter of fact do you want me to be? And she very much gave that to us.
She was so good.
Yes.
I appreciated her and her insight on these songs, especially growing up in the church and not too far from the Low Country, singing those songs for worship. You just don't know what the meaning truly is. And it's hurtful too. Like when you really listen to the lyrics, Amazing Grace, and then she's saying that the melody came from the moaning and groaning of the enslaved on the ship. It just gave me chills. How sweet the sound.
How sweet the sound.
That's crazy. That's crazy. It's crazy wild. Wade in the water, escaping. And during the special, she talked about how there were alligators and all kind of diseases and bugs and all those things in the water. But they wade in the water and they chose risking their life in that way just to get the freedom. And so it's heavy. It's heavy. And I think that that's something that most people probably don't think about from our perspective. Doing this story, listening to these details is not just like all right, and cut, we're done. Okay, see you guys later. We're back at it. This was heavy.
Very heavy.
It was emotional. And we appreciate those who checked on us during this special, all of our friends and family checking in with us, because it was difficult to do those interviews and then just move on. I mean, you had to really sit with that information.
You really do have to sit with it, and I think Billie Jean, I think all of our interviewees attested to the acknowledgement. So it's like to get these stories and the understanding of each part of this culture and what it was birthed from. And then knowing now in 2026, Dr. Jessica Berry still saying we're fighting for children that know Gullah Geechee to be bilingual. You know, to where it's like the richness in these stories and the fruition of what it had today.
And not put them in special education classes because they sound different.
Because they sound different. You know, it's just moments like that too, to where it's a hurt of like knowing, but then also a hurt of like, and we're still not acknowledging this? How? How?
Systemic issues for sure. But that was definitely a moment. We thank Miss Ann for that, Ann Caldwell and the Magnolia Singers. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but they provided us the soundtrack throughout the special as well. So they're active on Facebook. Their group is. If you have a moment, go like their page, stay in touch with them. They do perform all over the state. So, and they book people. So if you're looking for a great spiritual Gullah Geechee rooted choir, make sure you call out to Ann Caldwell and the Magnolia Singers. Another moment that was so touching, and it gave me chills, you as well, was talking to Kevin with the city of Charleston, who was the historian in our piece, along with Michael, about how even after death, the enslaved were still in bondage. Even after what is supposed to be a freeing transition, they still were mistreated and in bondage. So
you're just saying that a freeing transition.
It's supposed to be free. It's supposed to be
going
free.
To glory. And
going to glory, going back home to sweet Jesus. And your body is still being treated as property.
Sold, being used. I mean,
So that was eye-opening, but if you missed that part, take a listen to Kevin.
No one is unsellable. There's a physician on Queen Street in the 1850s who advertised that they would purchase cadavers. It was entirely legal, protected by law, not just by state law, but also by federal law. So if someone didn't sell at an auction and they die at the warehouse waiting, their body could be sold.
It's about subjugation. It's about erasure. How can you dehumanize an individual to the point that they don't see the value, their worth, and then that also begins to affect them psychologically.
Something else for me, Billie Jean, and I'm sure it might have been like this for you through the process. As you mentioned, there's certain things that we learn, not only from curriculums, but from our families. We both come from families that are very honed in on, we're going to know our history, where we came from. But it's something about when you hear it out loud. When you hear it out loud, someone saying, anyone, anything was sellable. Your cadaver, your body, it could be used for something. Children were sold like puppies. To hear it out loud.
The elderly. You can be 83, and if you can sell, they were going to sell you. That was horrible.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible. I appreciate Kevin. You know, I mean, he did so great with walking us through the old provost and dungeon there in Charleston. Is where he is the operations manager at. So if you're in Charleston, make sure you see him. Go get that history from the Old Slave Mart Museum. All of those buildings are very much what they were during the 1700s. None of that has changed. So that old slave mart that's now made into a museum, it is very much what he discussed as far as the mart that was there.
Yeah, Kevin was amazing, and we appreciate him. He spent so much time with us. He was very patient. He made sure we had every picture and every piece of detail that we needed. So he was another great interviewee and another great person. And I think at the end of that segment, when it was about Michael saying it was about dehumanizing and subjugation is what he said, and dehumanizing that person, it was just, I know we keep not finding all the words because it's still kind of difficult for us to talk about, but it definitely was eye-opening for sure. But what was also eye-opening was KJ Kearney. So obviously our segment was called Before Bondage. And I want to clear something up really quick because people were like, oh, you guys still talked about slavery. And yeah, we had to talk about it. You can't talk about the culture. You can't talk about who you were before without the moment of during. But the whole
how we got here.
How we got here. But the whole point was before bondage, we were a people of knowledge, power, and skill. And that who we were before was used for us during bondage, but it continues even after freedom to be used and has created the Gullah Geechee culture. So we appreciate the questions about that, and that's what it was all about. But in one of our segments, we thought it would be nice for everyone we talked to speak about if you could complete the sentence before bondage, what would it be? And everybody went through it. You can go back and see everyone's response online. But KJ's just really was like, I don't even have a follow-up question to that. I need to sit in that for a moment.
Sit in it. It made you think.
Yeah, yes, it did. So take a listen.
Before bondage, we were free, right? We did not have trauma. We were not oppressed in the same ways that we are now, right? And I don't think we understand how deeply ingrained colonization and white supremacy and enslavement has affected every single thing we do. And I can only imagine what it is to have lived a life where that wasn't even a thing in your past.
Wow. You know, after KJ made that statement of, I couldn't imagine a life to where I didn't know said trauma. I didn't know what it was like to be oppressed in this way. Could you imagine? Because even within the special, as we have pointed out, the reasoning, the mindset, the innovation, the skill, what that could have been if slavery never took place.
Yeah.
If those captures never took place, what could have thrived in Africa today in 2026? And let me just be very clear, Africa is still much thriving.
Yes, it is.
Okay. But
despite whatever images y'all see.
Despite whatever images, very much a thriving continent. Not country, continent. But, to think about that as to what would have been in today's day and age. But I think he also makes a valid point that sometimes, I know, I've heard it. Why are we still talking about slavery? Why are we bringing it up?
That didn't have nothing
to do with me. Yep. Why are we talking about it? Well, it's very much valid. In today's day and age, as we celebrate 250 years of America, it is very much part of the story of Black people in this country.
Yeah, and I think Ms. Ann said it so plainly that, quite frankly, everybody wasn't free 250 years ago. And so, doing the stories about America's birthday, for some, comes with a reminder that that celebration wouldn't have been for you. And so that's why it was so important to do this piece, to spark these conversations, to let people know that we can't erase history. The word erasure came up a lot of times from our interviewees. We can't erase this history, and it is traumatic, and it does pass down, you know, as Black people, even today in 2026, knowing that that mindset still lingers amongst some. And I think that, I don't want to speak for all of our people, but if not all, but most have experienced that at some point in their lives or continue to experience it. So it is definitely something that KJ said so beautifully. I've never heard it said that way, but it was very relatable. Other highlighted moments from the special I thought were absolutely amazing is that we had the opportunity to have the Moxie host a watch party for us.
Yes, this was awesome. Thank you so much to Moxie, Rachel, and her team over there.
Rachel's the GM there.
Yes, she is the GM over at the Moxie downtown. Ebony Page, all of you that made that possible on such a quick turnaround. We truly appreciate it. There's some of the team members and all the community that showed up and showed out to come watch with us, give us some feedback, celebrate with us. And that was something that was really special too, that I felt, Billie Jean, of people in the community. You know, it was, I think, especially being year 3, I had a lot of feedback. I'm sure you did, of like, can't wait to see it. They don't even know what we're doing. They don't even know if we're doing
posted one. Do you remember, like, back in January, we just posted a video, like, Intisar and I are, you know, working late hours, working on something special, and then it went wild. It was like, okay, y'all, we could have been up here talking about we're working on a new handshake. Y'all wouldn't have known. But we have received all the love for sure, and it was so cool. Oh, yeah, that was our custom drink that we had.
Yeah, we had a signature cocktail, the Gullah Sunset, and guess what? It is actually available. So if you, your friends, the girls, I know it's Valentine's weekend, you got Galentine's plans, head over to the Moxie because the cocktail is actually going to be featured on their menu the whole month of February. So if you ask for the Gullah Sunset, you know, it's a really great drink. It was delicious. But yeah, thank you to Rachel, Ebony, Joe, the whole team over there
for curating that. That was amazing. Yes, please go and support the Moxie. That was so cool and that was so neat. And honestly, y'all, like I said, today, I said I'm going to do it today. The love that we have received for this means, you know, some people are like, you guys are going to win an award. That would be nice, don't get me wrong, but the response that we got from the community means so much. And we're so happy that our intention for it to be received in a way was received just like that. And that was so good. Even to the point where they were showing this in schools. Shout out to Timmerman. Look at that. This is so neat. This is the class watching it. It was a class project at Timmerman, and a teacher there emailed us these pictures. She had her classroom watching it.
Yeah, this I think was, as you mentioned, Billie Jean, the part of it for us is community. We do this project not only, you know, to set that narrative straight as we did with this piece, but to give the community something that they can use, a tool that they can use that could be beneficial to those next generations. So seeing all those comments, like I said, the ones I got choked up on were when they said, this was the conversation for my family to talk about slavery, to talk about the past. We used this night as that conversation starter. I saw feedback saying, you know, my young daughter, my young son, they shed tears after watching the parts of talking about children being sold, getting scared. Hey, mama, daddy, is that happening to you? And having that opening dialogue with your kids, because let's be frank about it. That is a conversation about slavery, about the misjustice, about the injustice and oppression that majority of Black families have to have with their children.
And so to know that this piece was used as a conversation starter, it means a lot, and we don't take it lightly. What got me into Intisar were the comments from the people that are of the Gullah Geechee culture, and said, after watching this, I can let go of my shame. After watching this, all the years that I was picked on. I mean, someone who served our country in the military recounted stories about how, while he was in service, how people picked on him because of the way he sounded. And he tried hard for years to disguise that. And it's just like, That means so much to us. We just got a comment from Miss Kim Taylor Warren. She says, thank you, ladies, and everyone that contributed to this very powerful special. Keep up the outstanding work. Thank you so much, Miss Kim.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really do. We really do. But yeah, that was great. We are continuing to share content from it. We'll be sharing some of the digital moments on air as well.
Yes, we're going to have
truly
all those coming up. So please, if you do have any questions, even after today's Q&A, continue commenting. Billie Jean and I, as we said, we felt the love, support, the comments. We're going to spend the next week kind of diving in, answering some of those questions if we can, but continue to ask questions. Give us your feedback. This is truly what we love. Once this all comes to fruition and, you know, it airs, this is the part for me that it's like not basking in the we did it so much as like, wow, this was really received.
It was
the
really
way that
received.
we wanted it to be.
Absolutely. And I know that a lot of educators out there have commented and shared that they want to show their class. Listen, we're open to come speaking to your class too. Just send us an email. It's still Black History Month. I know that we're airing the Olympics here at WIS, but that actually gives us a little bit more time to come out and visit your class because we don't have shows.
Yes.
But you can still catch our digital shows that we're having. But yeah, if you have any questions or if you would like for us to come out and talk to your class, we'll love to do that too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yay,
yes. I'm so proud of us, sis. Yes. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Continue to send us feedback. And we've been getting your emails as well. Y'all have been sending us some good lengthy emails about the Gullah Geechee culture and what you experienced and what you saw. We are reading them all, everyone. We are going to get back to you. So thank you for your patience. And we look forward to doing it again next year.
On to next year.
Yes. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Have a great afternoon.
In Sierra Leone, there was a tribe called Golar. And out of that Golar comes the word Gullah. We know that there was a tribe called Gizi, and out of that came Geechee. 4 centuries later, Gullah Geechee people are still in that mode and in that manner to demonstrate to the world that they are relevant, that they are knowledgeable, and that they have an understanding of where they are.
Gullah Geechee is a gem. The people are a gem. We've moved from the coast all the way up. You will find Gullah Geechee people across the country.
I'm Gullah Geechee. I am living the lifestyle of my ancestry deliberately.
Gullah Geechee culture has been around longer than I've been here. It will be here long after I'm gone.
I'm an American of African descent. That's what I am.
We Gullah Geechee down to the socks.
Our coastal community is distinctive to our lifestyle, our region, our art forms, our language, the religion that we choose, all is part of our distinctive, deliberate way of living.
To understand, without the African presence, there's no South Carolina.